All right. Welcome back to the Refine Live podcast. I'm Bigg Vinny. That's Jeff Suter. This is Jared Blake. We're going to be talking to you today about opportunities and when you should take them and when you should leave them on the ground. The reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I think so many times in life we are given chances to work on something, to be a part of something. And sometimes we have to say yes, we have to say no, we have to make a decision based on what's there.
Ask our wives.
So that's a big thing. I have had, times when I wanted to do something and, in order to do it, it would have to take time away from something else. You only have so much time in a day, right? So if you're going to take on these new opportunities, how much of your time is it going to take? What's it going to do to that? And then, obviously you're always worried about missing out. That's kind of always my thing. It's like, well, if I don't take this opportunity, what if it blows up? And what if it's great, But so trying to figure those things out. I think, for you, Jeff, you've done some awesome things. You've built your own company. You've done all these deals. Obviously, Jared, you're changing in your life right now and going from the focus being solely on music, which has kind of been your life for the last 15, 20 years. Maybe longer than that, to being more focused on, hey, I want to make these investments. I want to put my time here. I want to enjoy this kind of thing with my family, like making those choices. I think for me, I'm in that stage with my kids where I'm like, do I really want to be on the road, 200 dates a year, So I'm trying to make those decisions based on the opportunities that are coming at me. And I think it'd just be helpful to people that are out there listening to know, like, what is the reason you make certain decisions? What made you go all in on a certain thing? And all that kind of stuff. So I'd love for you to kind of speak first on that and what you feel about opportunities and some of the things maybe that you've left on the table and some of the things you've picked up.
I think FOMO is one of the biggest asterisks that has to come into play when we're talking about opportunities.
Yeah.
Because fear of missing out applies to all of our lives.
Right.
And a lot of times we make piss poor decisions just because we don't want to miss out on whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Right. Like it could be, I don't know, being invited to go to an event that's out of the state that's going to cost your family $4,000.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss out on that, but you don't have the $4,000.
Right.
But because you don't want to miss out, you swipe the credit card.
Yeah.
And then for the number next, you swipe the credit card.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're in a bad financial situation.
Yeah.
Just due to FOMO. But I think passion, as far as do you do something or do you don't, from a business perspective, I would say passion. Is it going to fuel your passion? Do you have a passion for it, or is it just going to be about the money?
Right.
Because if it's just going to be about the money,
plenty of things you can do for money.
Plenty. So I think passion has to come in. What was that?
Well, I was
one night in Vegas.
I happened to be taking some pictures of my feet this morning, and Jared caught me. Turns out people like Fred Flintstone feet, and they'll pay $100 a foot. So
feet do sell. It's the weirdest and damnedest thing, but I've been telling Autumn she needs an OnlyFans foot page
Just
for
a foot
about
page.
a year
Only
and a half
foot.
now. With where the
only foot
feet
page.
finder, there we go.
Good old feet
Oh,
finder.
wow. That's a thing.
Yeah,
Feet finder.
You pulled that up way too fast, buddy.
So I mean,
Why
think
are
about
her
it.
feet displayed for this?
See, it's the tease of look how hot this girl is. You definitely want to see her feet.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, my wife has beautiful feet.
Autumn, this is the last time I'm telling you. If you don't get on this,
We're going to be in financial ruins.
yes, like the
FOMO,
real estate
FOMO,
market
FOMO.
sucks.
FOMO.
Pick up the
FOMO.
slack. Pick up the slack. So yeah. Anyways, I think passion is massive. Maybe Autumn don't have the passion for taking photos
For
of her
feet
feet. Maybe
finder.
that's why she ain't picked it up yet.
Yeah.
But that's where I would start with the decision is, am I going to have a passion in this?
Right.
Because
I
if
think
I'm
that's a
not
great
going to
idea.
have a passion in this, then it's probably not the best decision for me at this stage in my life,
Right.
right? Like, I'll use music with a mission and live to be as an example. There's a financial tie to that for me.
Yeah.
But I show up every Friday I'm in town. When we were doing it every Friday, I was there every Friday. You know, when we do it now, if I'm in town, I'm there every Friday. I have a passion for what you guys are doing and what I get to help with in a very small regard when I'm there. It was more when we were doing it every Friday, but now that it's monthly, it's not as
Yeah.
not as taxing.
We're gonna need you
but,
this next event though.
bro.
It's gonna
Can't
be
wait.
big.
To have
Can't
you out there
wait.
passing out some candy, okay?
Yeah, yeah. No, I can't wait for the big one. What do we think? 5,000 people this year?
Man, it was 3,000 last year, so
Yeah.
probably so.
Yeah, I
That'd
think
be
it's going to
dope.
be our biggest event yet, you
Yeah.
know, as far as people-wise go.
Yeah,
Anyway, I mean, I think that you're totally on it with the passion because I was thinking in that same line. I think that for me, Vinny mentioned that I was stepping back from music as much, and really, it's not even stepping back from music because I'm starting to realize that it's probably going to open up in different ways.
Right.
But I think I had to take a step back to figure out where that passion was, and when you're letting go of something that you've fought for so long and so
Yeah.
hard, I'm not about to replace that with something else that I don't also love.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, once again, like there are so many jobs, so many opportunities, so many different ways that Jen and I really we're so thankful every day that we get to wake up and decide what opportunities we're going to take. I mean, like our biggest issue right now is literally going, do we want to go this way, this way, this way, or this way? Like which one do
Yeah.
you pick? And so we've been looking at it a little more like this: is forget the opportunities that are in front of you. We've been looking at the same method that we teach with Live to Be, Music with a Mission, and when we're going into schools for a career, we're now applying that to our life and going, what do I want my life to look like over the next 5 years? What do I want my life to look like over the next 10 years? The next 20 years? How do I see this? Do I want to work super, super hard for the next 10 years and then start having vacations? Or do I want more vacations in? Do I want more time with my family
Right.
now?
Yeah.
What do I want this life to look like? Because so often, and plenty of people that have plenty of money,
Yeah.
still not living.
Yeah.
Still not living, and so trying to figure out
There's a difference in making
where,
a living and making a life, you know.
and I'm not gonna lie. So like this year's been good for us, and I was looking over things the other day because Jen and I decided that starting mid-November through December, we were taking off. Now, taking off meant that we were redoing the books and
Right.
getting focused on the next year. But I've never done that before. I've always had to gun.
Yeah.
And so we've got the Jamaica trip. That's the charity trip coming in December.
Yep.
Jen just booked another trip to go see her uncle in December as well. And it'll feel like the most downtime that I've ever had because nothing will be pressing on me.
Right.
I'll be creating the next year or two. The next.
I'm going to call you with an idea.
For sure. And I'll have to decide if that opportunity fits. Anyway, so
we're gonna have to re-listen to this before you make that decision.
But it's looking at what do we want that life to look like, just the realization, like the last few times that we were, the last couple of gigs got changed on us, but
Big time.
on the last few gigs though, I was setting it up to where I was bringing my wife out with me as well because I just.
One of that.
I have that choice because my kids aren't young.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And so looking at those sort of things, and I think that's the fuel right now for us deciding what opportunities we put things into. Like the and deciding how much time it's taking. Like you said, the stage company that Vinny and I are doing with Sean Hampton. Sean was questioning last night. Well, what is actually my value in this? What am I doing? And the reality is that. Well, there's a lot of value that any of us could have, but Vinny's the one primarily doing the work right now. But it also fits more in hand with what he's doing with his life right now.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of opportunities that I foresee in the upcoming years that my wife and I and us and then possibly three of us will take on together that take up less time, and you're just going, well, I do have these funds over here, and I don't have to have them back right now, so let's put that over there and see how that grows. Because ultimately, it's still the only reason you wanted to thrive or make money or anything else was because of the quality of life it was going to give you. And if you're not going to utilize that, then what was it for?
I think it's important to point out like you said, where do you want your life to be 5 years from now? Because if you don't have an action plan in place for that or even know what you want that to be 5 years from now, you're gonna be living the same life you're living currently.
Absolutely, or worse possibly. So, and it sounds cheesy, but you guys know that me and my wife do Tuesday night date night, and I guess 2 weeks ago, we're just eating, and we make this rule: you put the phones to the side, and it's on purpose to get bored for a minute, so that you actually just start talking rather than, well, it's all this and that, and just let your brain just, and she just goes, "What kind of car do you want to be driving in 5 years? What do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I was like, "This is kind of a fun game." So
I love it.
So I was like, well, man, I feel like my daily driver, if I had my choice, my daily driver would be this, but I also feel like the construction company is going to keep growing, so I'm probably going to have to get a bigger truck. And and we're talking about that sort of thing. And we talked
What do you
about
want your daily
hers
driver to be? I mean, I have to know. And you can't
Yeah,
just
I
say
do too,
this. I
yeah.
want to know what it is.
Well, it was hard because I refused to give her one. She wanted one, and I was like, I want a T-top gold flake Trans Am.
As a daily driver?
78, and I still want a Jeep because I love my Jeep. And then I'm going to need a bigger truck just for the construction stuff because you always...
Bigger garage, you don't have to come.
So we discussed that then. She goes, well, that's an interesting point because you brought up 3 cars. And she was like, I feel like I only need 1 car. And you've also got the bikes as well. She was like, so where do you see us living in 5 years? And I was like, oh, in a house with a 5-car garage. and she was like, she was like, interesting. She's like, so what do you see yourself
And a
driving?
basement.
What do you see yourself driving in 10 years? And I was like, same thing. Maybe I have a couple other toys, and she was like, well, what do you see in a house? And I was like, that house will have a barn that's just cars. Like that'll be like a 6 to 8 bay thing. And we'll have a dirt track out in the back because at that time we have to start thinking about grandchildren are going to start coming over at some point. So it's going to be go-karts and little dirt bikes.
See, I like
and
that.
we'll probably have some little crops growing there. And we're not going to get a pony just because every kid wants a pony and you never get a pony. So I was like, maybe we get a pony, And she was like, so where are we going to live? And I was like, I don't know, between here and Franklin, so we'll find some land
College Grove
out
action.
there, And she was like, wow, you put a lot of thought in this. Like, nope, I hadn't thought about it at all until right now.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to me. I was like, when you put me on the spot and said, what do you want? I go, I want to do this. I want to live like this.
Yeah.
Well, then that means I have to start looking at that now of, okay, well, I'm here. I have these things. How do we get from here to here, then to there?
So important.
You know, it's so weird for me because even asking the question, like, I love old cars, but as far as what I drive on a daily basis, I just want something that
You'd buy me an old car quicker than you'd buy one for
I know.
yourself.
I
I
don't
said
know.
something about the Trans Am one day. Next thing I knew, Vinny's on Facebook.
I found him the gold one with the
"Look right
25
here."
grand.
But he
I
was
found
like,
it.
I'm not buying one right now, bud.
He's like, but thanks for making me think that I should, But no, I think for me,
I
like,
did send him to my wife.
I
I was like,
love
Vinny
old
found
cars.
these for me.
Yeah. Can you go get it? I love old cars. I don't, like my daily driver, I just want it to operate correctly. I think I would spend a lot of my years in vehicles that didn't have air conditioner. I didn't have a vehicle that had air conditioner. I mean, it allegedly had it, and then I got it and somehow it quit working. Up until, honestly, until I got back from Biggest Loser. I had this 1985 Chevy van that just, it overheated. I had this Tahoe that literally the transmission was out every other weekend. I had this 93 S10 that, the only air conditioner you had was roll, and you had to roll the windows down. There wasn't no electric on them. And I loved those vehicles. I had a 78 El Camino that had a hole rusted all the way through the floorboard.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you open that thing up, you could put your foot down and touch the ground. And I think, for me, it's like when I have a vehicle like this, I have this old 2016 Volvo with 115,000 miles, got from City Auto.
You love it?
David Stegg. I do. I love it.
You love it?
It gets me to and from, I had a truck that I really liked, but what I didn't like was paying over $800 a month in gas. And it was a cool truck. It was a good looking truck. And I realized, I thought when I first saw that truck, I was like, dude, I got to get that truck. And then I got it, and I'm like, pretty high to get in this thing. Well, can't go in that parking lot because it was jacked up, and it's like all these things. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this truck as much as I thought I did. And I was like, dude, it's got a winch on the front. Never one time did I roll out that winch. Ever.
Most people don't. Most people don't use their winch.
But I can't think of there's one, like I don't have like a toy, like a motorcycle that I want. Like I don't care about that. I don't care about, having a special car. I do think if I was going to get something, I love like old Corvettes. I love 57 Chevys, one of my favorite cars. I think I would love to have one, but not as a daily driver. So it's like for me, even when you talk about the house, I'm like, I just want a place big enough for me and my family to be in and be comfortable. But I don't have a desire for I also don't have 6 kids. I have 2. A little different when you got 6.
That is different because a lot of my plan of the things that I want are more for
I'm going to have
the family
35
and enjoying
grandkids coming in
things like
here.
just
Imagine if all 6 of your kids have 6 kids.
that'd be crazy.
That's
but
36.
This is the real. It's partly my ego too. Of like, well, if you have the motorcycles and the cars and the dirt track, who's the favorite grandpa? It's me. It's me for
You're
sure.
like, they're definitely going to Grandpa Blake's tonight. What do you want your name to be when you're a grandpa?
They already came up with it. The kids all
Was it
decided.
Pappy?
No, it was. I think it was the Grand Poopah.
Oh, I like that.
So
I would definitely be a poopah.
for him to hit his
I'll be
5-year
poopah.
plan, for you to hit your 5-year plan, you know what it is now. Y'all
Well, that was the
determined
thing. You're like, it's not that hard when you stop and look
Yeah.
at it like that. You're like, oh, well, that's
but you do have to decide which opportunities you're going to take and not take to accomplish
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, that was
Absolutely.
going to kind of be my next question. Is obviously you have a circuit in mind that like I'm going to need to do this to graduate to this to graduate to this. So what does that look like for you? I mean, obviously I know you're going to keep doing music where it makes sense to do music and all that kind of stuff. But what is the grand scheme of that?
I mean, I think it's the same way of like looking at, once again, the live to be side of it, going, okay, well, if this is what I want, what are the things in front of me that can make those things happen? What do I need to know about those things? What are the negatives? What are the hurdles that I think that's the big one that everybody forgets and that misses. What are the hurdles? There's definitely going to be hurdles. Everybody's all like, I'm just going to do this. Like, no, you're not. There's going to be a lot of bad shit that happens in that.
Yeah.
Figure out what that stuff is.
There's
going to
be a
yourself.
downtime. There's going to be,
So like in that plan, we discussed it, and we bought this piece of property not long ago behind our Carroll property over there on the creek. And so the next step of that is having somebody come out and check out the land, survey it. How big of a house can you have? More importantly, how big of a garage can you have on this piece of property? And looking at those sort of things that we can create the next dream by creating the first dream that makes you money.
right.
So, you know that I'm working on my GC right now. You know that what my wife does. So that idea is like, well, if we're going in there and we're building this ourselves and we already have the crew, then we know that we've just built a house that we definitely have a lot of, money out of immediately. So you're prepping for that second part of it, even through the first part of it. To go, well, we're going to take this, we're going to flip this into this, and blah, 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 So the next step is really easy. It's just surveying this property and then understanding what does that look like? How much money does that cost?
Yeah.
How do I make sure that I get that loan, or do I even want that type of loan? Do I want to sell this property over here, put that down, and just look at the ways that make sense to do it?
I think for me, and this is something I've, just from us starting to invest and starting to learn that side of our lives, because we were just on the road playing music for a long time.
Because we were going to be in arenas.
Yeah. Still are.
Forget retirement.
Arenas or retirement, which one do you want? Listen, look, I mean, what's his name? Mick Jagger. He's still out there doing it.
He is.
80-something years old.
He also started in arenas far younger
true.
than we are now.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is this. I used to look at debt as the worst thing. I used to think that, man, I don't want to have any debt. I don't have any debt. Until I realized that if you have debt that is aimed towards making you profits, it's different than just having debt, because like when you buy things like a car, it's a depreciating asset. It's going to continue to be worth less money than when you paid for it. So when you go out and you buy clothes and jewelry and cars and toys and things like that, those are depreciating assets. And then it's okay to have those things as long as you're making sure that you've made the investments and put some of the debt that you've put on yourself is debt that is going to make you money. So when he goes in and he gets these houses, and he goes, yes, I'm putting another $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 worth of debt on myself right now, but the equity that I'm creating in these houses, 2 years from now, they're going to be worth another $100,000, or they're going to have this other equity. So learning about that really helped me get away from the fact that all debt is bad, because there is some bad debt. There's things that there's a difference in being able to afford something.
Using a credit card at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That is bad debt right there.
Hey, you sent me that. You sent me that. Didn't you send me the TikTok? Where it was like them going back in time to the first time they ever used a debit card at McDonald's or a credit card at McDonald's. Stuff. It's like, I just don't see this happening long term. It was like they were baffled that they used a credit card to buy something at McDonald's, or at Burger King or whatever. It's been as low as $2 and as high as $10, because it's like in the 70s or whatever. But might have been 80s.
I've seen it.
Oh, it was a funny. It literally just somebody sent it to me
McDonald's
yesterday.
French fries sound fantastic right now.
Yeah, I'm not a McDonald's.
Have you been
guy.
dieting?
I've been doing pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not a McDonald's guy.
I'm not either, but their French fries
You know what I
sound good
love?
at the moment.
Most things.
Sonic America's Drive-In, service with the speed of sound.
Not a Sonic fan.
Good afternoon. Thank you for choosing Sonic
not
America's
either.
Drive-In, service with the speed of sound. How may I
Nice.
help you?
Everybody loves the ice.
All right, I
Everybody
got
likes
two
ice,
number
but you
twos,
can
one
buy
number
that
one, and
machine
I
in your
have
house.
4 chocolate slushies. You know, people get chocolate slushies sometimes. Anyways,
Really?
yeah, it's a weird combination, but it tastes pretty good. I mean, it's just sugar and more sugar.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
just
dig that.
sugar on
I can
sugar.
get behind that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where I've kind of come to in my life is looking at things when the resort came about. It was like at first I was like, oh my gosh, I can't take on this, $1.25 million in debt. Even though I have partners and stuff, I was like, I can't afford that. But then it's like when you look at that business is going to pay for itself. So it's paying for itself, which is creating more equity, which is making it to where now, the property now is worth already 3-4 times the amount that we paid for it. It's like we could go sell it today, and which that's not my goal. My goal is to continue to develop the property and turn it into a place that's got 12 or 13, 14, 15, 20 cabins on it. You know what I mean? Like continue to create that, put another lodge up at the top of the ridge, all that kind of stuff. And those have to happen periodically through time as you grow it. But learning that all debt is not bad debt has been a good thing. So when it comes to the opportunities and you are going to take on some debt, it's just making sure that debt is worth what's sitting on the other side of it. Is it immediately going to start making you money? No, but is it within 6 months, within a year, within 2 years? How long is it going to take before you start seeing money come back in from that debt that you took on? And that's one of the things I've seen Jared do it, and I was kind of questioning it. First, I'm like, dude, you about to buy another house? What are you doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to buy it, but then it's going to be worth this much in 2 years. And I've watched it happen where it's worth more than what he thought it was going to be worth, and the projections happen. And then you got people in there
Dude,
paying
The
a lease.
beauty of it was it was my wife because she was like, hey, all we have to do is sign a lease on this house, and then we can go buy another house, and this house won't. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, we just have to have the down payment. I was like, well, why would we ever stop doing that? She was like, we don't have to, so we haven't. But we also I forgot about that. We put a goal on ourselves that we wanted to buy one house per year for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And at that point, then you're making money off of the other houses, and that's part of the retirement plan to go.
Yeah.
And then reality is I got 6 kids. Once again, one of them, their dreams aren't going to come true. It's just a factual thing, and they're going to need to work for dad. And you're like, hey, got some houses for you to manage over here.
I mean, the numbers are against them. When you have 6, I got 2 of them, so I'm hoping at least one of them, hits the lotto or something. Although the lotto is again back up to $1 billion tonight, so if somebody could go win that for us, that'd be great.
Wow.
Well, so I think that
There's an opportunity.
I don't mean
Just
to
cost you $2.
speak for Jeff, but I think that Jeff and I probably say no a little easier than you do.
Yeah.
So, what have you used, or what are you implementing into your life now that is going to keep you saying no?
Well, I think for one, utilizing friends like y'all that
And understanding, Vinny says yes to everyone for everything.
I know. Sometimes
like,
I'm
it's a great thing. I'm not saying anything bad about this man. It's awesome.
There's times when I'm literally sitting there like, oh crap, I committed to that. And I'm the kind of person like I hate to cancel on anything just because it's not in my nature. I don't ever want to let somebody down.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you live like that, the person you end up letting down is yourself. You know what I mean?
Or
your
spouse.
wife or your kids or whatever.
Family.
And and definitely, I think one of the biggest things for me that I've implemented is I do bounce stuff off of guys like y'all. Typically more you than you because we're newer friends, whereas him, we've been friends for quite a while. But having people in my life that I trust, like, hey, this is the situation. What do you think I should do? Well, what's going to make you happier? What's going to deliver more? Is it a short term, uncomfortableness for a long term gain? Is it a long-term uncomfortableness for a short amount of gain? Is there any gain at all? So I think just weighing out the stuff is definitely where I put it at, and then confiding in.
That's a good one that I didn't bring up. That was one of them that I did this evening. Actually, that opportunity came about, and I was like, "Who do I know that might know something about some reason I would call that person?"
Yeah,
and I found that person in my head, called that person,
Yeah,
and before I knew it, they're like, "You need to talk to this lawyer over here."
right.
But it was, it's when you have those opportunities, try not to waste too much time figuring it out. But you gotta spend a little bit of time before you say yes, at least, or before you say no, to understand what you're up against.
I mean, so right now I'm in the process of creating a management company for artists. Is the first launch, but I wanted to find out.
He's knocking it out of the park already, and it's not even started yet. It's pretty amazing.
This came about because a very influential person in the business came to me and said they wanted me to do it. And I'd always thought about doing it, but then I was like, well, I don't really want to do that because this and this. And I'm still trying to be an artist and all this other stuff. And it wouldn't, him saying, well, you can still be an artist and help manage other artists.
What he's got going on right now is just hearing him talk about it is the most excitement I've had in music in years. Just hearing him talk about it. Like it's
it pumps me up just because he knows there's been a few artists along the way that I've helped that had I've had contracts in place and
these are artists that you all know.
Yeah, well. everybody knows one of them for sure. But I didn't have the things in place to make sure. And I don't even think it's the artist as much as it is once they get into the system of going. If you don't have an actual tie to them, on paper, they're going to push you out, and by they, I mean like the industry. And I don't even think it's not even a personal thing. I think it's just like, nope, can't have that piece of the pie, buddy. We have to have that piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. So, I look at it, I do put it on them later in their life whenever they get to the point where they make the decisions. But in the beginning, you're listening and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever you say. I want to keep this train rolling. So, but this opportunity has come about. I am starting to knock it out of the park. I'm super excited about it, and it's a cool thing. I already realized that once this launches and once it comes out, there's going to be people that are going to send me messages. Hey, I want to be part of what you're doing. I want to do this. And I'm going to have to say no to some of them. There's going to be people that I have to say, hey, you know what? We got too much on our plate already. Especially there's 3 artists that are basically going to start off with us that, they're already significantly making great money and do it. And they're going to have a lot for us to have to handle.
Have you thought about how you're going to say no to that? What's going to be your gauge?
Yeah, it's tough for me because it's like if I care about somebody and it's like I want to see them succeed, I want to. I hate to say no if I care about somebody. I want to see them succeed, but it's kind of like I have to look and it's like, hey, I have to make sure.
Are you talking about other people involved, or are you talking about artists?
No, I'm talking about artists.
Okay,
I'm talking about once we get it. Yeah, they're going to be. I know there'll be calls from other people that want to be part of that too. But what I'm talking about is the artists. There's going to be. I know so many artists because of doing my show for so many years, especially with these 3 artists that are going to start off with us. They're going to see the opportunity there, like, oh my gosh, I need to be working with them. So when that comes to fruition, it gets put in the papers and all the other stuff, whatever not even papers anymore, but the press media links or whatever gets posted on the internet. I know that there will be artists coming and saying, hey, Big, Vinny, I love you, man. I'd love to, come in and let you manage us. And I've got a team together that, are just top notch. And I have to be able to say no to some of these folks, even though I love them and they're my friends. I'm going to have to be like, hey, man, my first priority is to take these artists that we already have, that we've already committed to, and to make sure I can handle their stuff correctly, to make sure that I can give them the time on a daily basis that they need to develop their brands and get them going. Now, once we get to the point where I'm like, yeah, this is going, it's running like a top, sure, I can hire more people, bring in more people to handle those situations day to day. Because like I said, I mean, I want to be handling everything from sponsorships to branding for the, for their brands, to getting them shows, to making sure that when they go to these shows that, that they're well represented. Like I want to do those things. I want to make sure that they're getting the proper writing appointments with people that are going to help them write the kind of songs that keep them having longevity in their careers. And so that's kind of where I'm going. Then I have a girl that's coming on board and she's the tie to LA and New York. I mean, she's helped launch so many things from MTV to Songland to The Voice to all these things, big part of his life. And that, I want to make sure that we, give people the opportunities to do those things. And then the other girl that I'm bringing in, she's just the most organized, like everything has its place. Everything is like, it's like she looks at something.
Oh, like you.
Yeah, just like me. No, I knew I had to have this girl because for me, I'm gonna be your wild card. I'm gonna get you on the red carpet. I'm gonna take you over to meet somebody that I'm gonna walk up to him like, hey, dude, what's up? Good to see you, man. Hadn't seen you forever. How's life been going, man? You kids okay? I'm gonna study. I mean, I've already done it once.
That works every time.
Yeah, it does for me.
No, but if you're brave enough to do it, artists don't know what to do about it. It can be the most famous person ever, and they'll be like, oh, hey, man. Yeah, how you been? Like, they don't.
They're human.
Listen, they don't know what to do. They're just like,
I will literally make these people believe that we were best friends 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And some of them, they were my really good friends 5 years ago. But I'll literally walk up and say, dude, how's it going? Everything good with your kid? I saw that, I just saw, because they put everything online so you can see everything.
So, the whole time you were talking about this, and I know that you are a big vision, big dreamer guy. I think that's also a problem for a lot of us as well, because we have these big visions, these big
Expectations,
dreams. Well, no, we just keep creating more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just keep creating companies in my head over and over and over again. So,
I've seen us
like,
do
as
it.
I was listening to this, and I don't know if you've thought of this or if you just take it as advice, but when I was hearing you say all this, immediately I was thinking the only real way to not make the same mistakes that we've watched other management companies,
Yeah.
record labels, those sort of things make, is that you've got your team and you understand why you place them in. So the next part of your brain has to go, okay, we have these artists and we got to take care of them. Who are the artists that we actually want
Right.
after they get taken care of? So as these other artists start presenting themselves, you kind of got to cherry pick and go, that one, that one, and that one.
yeah.
Those are the next three that I sign if I get to.
So a few
and the same
things.
way with the people
Yeah.
around you. Like
A few things that
biggest,
I have
issue that
yeah.
the biggest issue that I've watched Jen have developing her company
Yeah.
has been, who are the people that she's settling around herself?
Yeah.
Can they handle the things that she's asking them to do?
Yeah.
And so the same way goes with that crew of people of going, when I do hire someone else, who's that person need
Yeah.
to be? How do I enjoy working with them? How do I enjoy being
Yeah.
with them? How much do I trust them? Because you're literally bringing someone on
Yeah.
to continue that dream, and that's a big
Yeah.
deal.
So for me, I kind of have a criteria already set forth in that. And it's going to be the first thing I have to see is do I believe in what you're doing? Because, there's a lot of people that can make you money that you don't have to believe in.
Comes back to passion.
Yeah. And so there's people out there that go and play music, 400 times a year that make enough money for it to make you money. And you can get your 15% and, and you're taking that 15% from them. But if you don't truly believe in them, I'm the kind of person that if I don't truly believe that I can help you, not even just that I believe that if I can make money off of you, but if I can't help you advance your career to a better level than where you're at, if I can't help you get to the right songwriters, if I can't help you develop into something that's better than what you already have, then I'm not going to take you on as a client. So my first thing is do I have a passion for what you're doing, whether it be, on the talent level, on the other levels of what you're trying to create. The second thing would be talent. Do you have the talent? Do I appreciate your talent for what it is? Are you morally and ethically the kind of songs you're writing, the kind of things you're doing? I'm not ever going to take on anybody that's going to be, devil worship kind of music. I'm not ever going to take on anybody that's going to be singing songs that I think fight against God. Not saying they can't sing a song about beer drinking or this or that, because to me it's like that's different. But if it's like your thing is literally fighting against Jesus Christ, I'm not the one to take that on. There's somebody out there to help you. It's just not me. And so that's kind of my second thing is your music, is it in your talent level on that. And then the third thing, and one of the most important things for me, is what's your work ethic, because I don't want to work harder on you than you work on you. I want to be there to help you and amplify and take you to the next level and do every single thing that I can to help you. But I don't want to be the one every day waking up saying, okay, I'm going to make this guy go to work today. If he ain't willing to get up and go put in the work, I'm not going to go make you work. I'm going to give you opportunities, and it's up to you to say yes or no to them. But you have to know that if you're going to go out there and do that work, then I'm behind you. I got your back and everything else. But if you're counting on me to go to put in all the work for your brand, for your stuff, that's not you working as an artist. That's me working as an artist for you, but I'm working on your brand instead of mine.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do that, I'll just keep working on my brand, And so I want people to have that work ethic and that drive that's going to get them out of the bed in the morning, even if they did have a long night and a hangover. Another thing that kind of put in is like, I have had some situations in my life with friends of mine that battled alcoholism, battled other addictions and things like that, just like I battled my addiction with sugar. I want them to know, like, hey, there's no drinking, there's no getting drunk before you go on stage. If you want to have a drink before you walk on stage, it's one thing. I don't want to put artists out there that are getting so hammered drunk that they slur everything, forget the lyrics, mess up. I don't want to be out there trying to baby them on every single thing.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to have a responsibility, like, hey, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to entertain people that spent their hard-earned money, on this ticket to come see me. And I'm not saying you can't have a bad night where your throat is hurting, because trust me, we've all had nights where it's like, dude, I got nothing left
This is
to
going to be
take.
a struggle.
Yeah, not Jared. Jared warms up by gargling some razor blades. But no, so those are the kind of things I look at. What's your work ethic? What's your talent? And am I passionate about it? But what kind of come to me today, which was what you brought up earlier, what really hit me was I also have a passion for football, for sports. And as I got to looking at this, I'm like, if you're managing artists, you're just managing a brand, right? and don't get me wrong, there's the human element where you're managing their expectations and their what they want to do and who they are and all that. But so I called my buddy Bill Johnson. Bill Johnson is such a massive agent in all the sports world, but his main focus is football. He has so many people that play in the NFL that are massive contract guys that are household names, and he's so big that there was a part of the show Ballers that The Rock was in that portrayed him as like the top guy. And I happened to be acquainted with him and friends with him because his wife was in the music business, but also because my buddy Luke Rogers was really good friends with him. And we reconnected at their wedding shower. Is that what it's called? Wedding shower?
Yeah.
Whatever you call those things. So we reconnected there, and he's like, gave me his cell phone number. He's like, man, hit me up anytime, man. I love to keep up with what you're doing. I always loved your music. He loved Trailer Choir and everything. So I was like, man, I said, let me hit him up and just ask him. I said, man, what does it take to be an NFL agent? To be, an agent brings in players, works deals. He goes, it's interesting you asked that. He goes, first thing you got to have is a good personality, and you got to be able to socialize. He goes, those are two things that I think you knock it out of the park on. He goes, I know that I could. He goes, heck, I could utilize you, put you in the room, let you talk to people, get people feeling warm and fuzzy about themselves. And he goes, you do have to go to the NFL, the NFLPA. You have to take, a class and a test, and you have to pass it and all that kind of stuff. You have to learn about the salary caps. You have to learn about how it all works and all that kind of thing, which normally I'm against. I've had many people ask me to be a real estate agent, a mortgage agent, and you didn't ever ask me, but insurance. I've had a lot of people ask me, because of my personality more. And so I was just like, man, I said, I would be actually interested enough in this to go for that. And he goes, well, if you truly are serious about it, he goes, I would basically bring you under my umbrella with your management company into the sports world and let you work with me through me. He goes, because in the beginning, until you have a name in it, you're not going to get one client. He goes, you're not going to get a 5-star recruit to come to you whenever you're brand new, because they're not going to think you have the power. He goes, so you have one of two things. Either you find somebody that nobody's recruiting, that you randomly find this talent in some small town somewhere, and you develop him and you take him to places and you get him in the combine. And he goes, so there's that path. Or he goes, you work with somebody like me who, can literally get you into any door and say, hey, I think you would be the best to handle this person, this and that. So he gave me that open door, and a lot of times an opportunity is all you need to make something great happen. But I'm so passionate about just the management side of the aspect of helping people build their brands, helping them stay on point, even when it comes to their money. Like, we watched, a quarterback here in Nashville that was one of the biggest prospects. He was famous about the same time I was famous. Vince Young, great guy, super nice guy.
Yeah.
Me and him always got along great. I got to spend a lot of time with him because we were at our most famous level whenever he was here being the star,
Yeah.
And I would watch this dude just pay off people's tabs and go around and be like, clear the tab for everybody, $5,000, just bam, 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 all over everywhere we'd go. And he'd have 7 or 8 guys with him that were just feeding off of his money all the time. And I'd look and I'm like, man, I literally said to him one night, I was like, dude, you ain't got to pay for everything for everybody all the time. He goes, man, I got it. And I was like, yeah, but what if you get hurt next year? What if you don't, what if you don't pan out? I was like, you got $36 million. He went through $36 million in 3 years and had nothing left at the end of it. And it blew my mind. I'm like, $36 million in 3 years, just gone, just out. Obviously they face fines, for dressing a certain way, or if they're wearing the wrong cleats on the field. I mean, there's so many things. And I didn't even know this was, I knew they got, fines for hitting people the wrong way or things like that. But literally there's little $1,000 fines here and there everywhere they go that they can get fined out of their contracts. That blow my mind. I'm like, oh, crap, I'd be checking my contract. Okay, I can wear these socks.
Getting out of lawsuits and getting out of jail with no one knowing it.
Those things happen too.
I think you've given us the perfect example of when to take an opportunity. Because he's just delivered so much passion.
Yeah.
It's so well thought out. Like, there was no stage of everything you just delivered where it was not considered and thought about.
Yeah.
Like, some pretty good details for this sitting, scenario. So I think that's been a fantastic example of an opportunity you definitely.
Well, and it's something that still encompasses everything I love, which is being an artist, being part of the artist, songwriting. All those things are still encompassed in what I'm doing with the management company.
Yeah.
There's a piece that I was thinking about that we didn't discuss with that, and I know we got to wrap it up. But a big one for me here lately too is looking at different things and knowing that you have a passion about all these different things and realizing, hey, this is just on a different spot of my life.
Yeah.
I don't have to do all these things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like me and you have talked about like the management company, and I watch myself being drawn more and more to, you know, Jackson, one of the artists we're working with, and different people. And so I gotta look at your company, I go, yeah, I could definitely see myself working with Vinny at some point in time on this stuff. I don't know that it's right now. I don't know that it's in the beginning of things. Or maybe it is in the beginning only from a writing standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, with some of these kids. Because, I mean, the last 2 kids that I wrote with, I enjoyed so much, but I enjoyed it from a teaching aspect.
Yeah.
Of going, all right, yeah, you can do this, and you can do that.
y'all
You
took
can
him
listen to
to
this,
school for
or
sure.
we can go this way, you know? And so yeah, and I look at those things, and sometimes I'll let myself get confused and be like, oh, well, maybe I should be doing what Bigg Vinny's doing, or maybe I should be doing what Jeff's doing, and realizing like there are different chapters of your life, and you got to look at it and go, what makes the most sense in the now, and if you want to do those other things, kind of envision those at a different spot and go, well, what would I have to do, and how would I have to get these businesses under control in order to move on to that business, you know? And just keeping the door open too. I get really caught in when an opportunity hits me and I'm passionate about it. I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing now. And these days,
he'll send you a full out business plan with pictures and websites and everything. Like, he'll be sitting there, he's like, yeah, I made up all this today. Wham, website, pictures, everything. I'm like, whoa,
right?
I didn't even know you could do that.
And I've gotten a lot better here lately of going, hey, I really like that idea. God, if that's what you want me to do, I'm going to open this door. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this much time and energy into seeing what happens there. And if you want this, then you need to bring it on and let me know. If not, I'm going to keep pursuing this over here.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I think and the good thing with me and Jared, we know that, you know, anything I'm working on, he's part of in some way, whether it be the beginning aspects of it, if he comes in writing with the artist, whatever is like that. There's, you know, opportunities. I'm sure if I called him and said, hey man, I need work, I'm not real good at swinging a hammer. I mean, I can swing the hell out of it.
Pick up heavy crap though.
I can pick up heavy stuff. If I needed like to come make some money.
And I moved 300 sticks of lumber today by myself, so I could have used you today.
I got a good strong back. So with that, what I want to end on, and this is, you know how I am, I like to always end on something like this, but what is an opportunity that has been presented to you that you said no to, that you look back now and it's like, man, I know I could have done great with that, or I wish I would have taken that on?
I'm going to go back to high school.
Me too.
Boy, she was cute.
You know, I grew up.
He was cute.
I grew up playing a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
A lot of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So much baseball to where after 13, I was done. It was like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
So through high school, I did not play. Once I turned 18, graduated high school, I got approached to come play in a summer league with a lot of college and minor league players.
Right.
I haven't played since 13.
Right.
I didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, just went right in.
Just went right in. So
the foundation was there.
Yeah, it's like what could have been had I listened
and pushed
and continued to play.
You look like a pro baseball player when I
14 to
look
18.
at you. Even the hair. Barry Zito. You're very
That
very,
might be the best compliment I've received.
You're
today.
very Barry Zito-esque.
So yeah, no, I would say I wish I had taken that opportunity to continue to play.
Yeah,
because they begged me in high school to play.
Yeah,
and I just
I love it. Definitely, I was thinking of it on a business level, but going back to like those type of things, that's almost like your childhood dreams is always cool to me.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Mine's easy, man. My dad had he was in convenience stores, and before I left for Nashville, he was like, "Hey, you know, if you'll just come over here, like I want to retire. If you'll just take this over, in the next like 3 to 4 years, you'll be managing this thing outright, and then I'll start selling it to you. By the time you're 28, you'll be making somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 a year, and you'll own this, and you can literally just train another manager, and then go off to Nashville, and you won't have to worry about money. You won't have to worry about anything. You can build whatever you want to build."
Yeah.
You know, and I look back at that all the time. Like, I don't regret it, but I look back and I'm like, dude, because you're thinking like all these things I'm going to do between 21 and 28, you know? And the reality was, or 18 and 28, the reality was like, dude, if I'd have strolled in town at 28, unless it was 20 years ago or, 15 years ago, at 28 making $200K a year.
Yeah, yeah.
I would've
You
just-
fund
I
your
would've
whole
just-
thing.
I literally would have just laid my career out right in front of me because it wasn't
Yeah.
like I didn't have opportunities.
Right.
It was the fact that you needed the funds to make it all happen.
Right. Yeah.
And back then, I could easily, I was living like a king back in those days, using that 50K.
It's
Oh, yeah,
crazy,
absolutely.
The priorities we have at such a young
Right.
age
But
are
but
wild.
28 was, I was going to be so old when he said that. I was like, dude, that's 10 years
10
wasted in
years.
this convenience store.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's real deal. And looking back, it's like, man, if I'd have just done that, I could have done this. Obviously, regret is always, my fear of failure is less than my fear of regret. You know what I mean? Like, my fear of regret is so big. And so part of the reason I do take so many opportunities and I try to make them all work, obviously realizing that you don't have time to make them all work. I think for me goes back to the management. I was told by a good friend of mine, all those years ago, hey, if you're going to do all these things and you're going to take these people to meet these people and you're going to do all this, you should make sure you have some paperwork in place. I'm like, no, they're my friends. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah.
It's all good. And I do look back and I think the missed opportunities, and one of these artists is so huge now that it would have set me up for life.
Yeah.
Just having that percentage, even if it was just 5%, would have completely changed my life. But I always try to look at it from this standpoint. If I had taken that opportunity, would it have led me to my wife now? Would have it led me to the things I'm at? And I wouldn't trade those for nothing.
Yeah.
So I think there's a certain sort of regret of like, man, that was supposed to be mine. I made that happen for that person. I should have been a part of that, and I said no because I thought I was doing the friendly thing, and really I was doing the stupid thing.
Yeah.
So I think that would be for me, and it's one part of the reason I'm so excited. I think about this management company is that I'm getting a second chance to do it.
I'm excited for you, brother.
It's a cool thing, and I'm
It's gonna be
passionate
dope.
about it because how many artists have I sit there and had hours
Oh,
of
for sure.
conversations
Well, I've
with,
witnessed it too.
telling them, hey, you don't need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. Hey, don't go waste your money on that. Like
I've actually got, I don't know, a minute and a half video of you just a few weeks ago feeding into Hazy.
yeah.
I mean, I've witnessed it.
Yeah, and we had some meetings. I met with him and his current manager and stuff too. And but like I said, I think for me that's that. And there was just to end on this, there was a speech I heard the other day, and it was Denzel Washington giving the speech, but it was an old speech that he had heard, so I don't know the exact original author. But he said, "My biggest fear is to be laying in the hospital bed, on my deathbed, surrounded by the ghosts of all the opportunities I would have had if I wasn't too afraid to go after those things." He goes, "I would hate to be laying there and saying, man, what if I would have done this and I'm 80 years old or whatever, and what if I would have tried that? What if I went after these things?" He goes, obviously we're all going to have those things. I look back at, I was really good at football and I didn't persevere and go through the 2 years of, I was supposed to play here at MTSU for Coach Andy McCullum back in the day. I didn't persevere and go through that. So I think there will always be that part of me is like, what if I would have trained properly with proper coaches, with all this stuff? My strength has always been good enough. My speed was never good enough. But I also played center. What if I would have? Could I have made it to even just the collegiate level of being like, hey, I got that D1 scholarship for the last 2 years or whatever it is. I think there will always be a part of me that's like, dude, what if you would have tried? And so that's a regret. I'm prepared to live with that because I went on and made another dream happen that was just as equal as important to me. But, I think we're all going to have those things. But the speech of hearing him say, I don't want to be laying in my deathbed and looking up at all the things that I could have had. And then the way he ended it was, I don't want to go to heaven and be talking to God, and him say, hey, look at this life that you had. And then go look at him. It's like, that wasn't my life. I didn't have any of those things. He goes, no, this is the life that you could have had if you would have followed the path that I laid out for you. And I thought that's pretty powerful to know that God has all these great things that he has in line for us. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy to get to them. There's going to be obstacles in the way. But if you're willing to go after the things you want, then you can reach those goals. So
that grit and that grind.
Mm-hmm.
So grit and grind, gratitude, all those good things. But anyways, I guess that's where we'll end on this one.
We need to like. We need to subscribe. We need to share.
Follow.
Can you
leave
do
a
it?
comment?
It's a must.
5 stars.
5.5.
Our lives depend on it.
5.5.
My bills depend on it.
Do you got bills?
Can't pay my telephone bills. Can't pay my cell phone bills.
Does this
can't
place
pay
look
my
debt free?
automobile. Hey. He's going to be on Feet Finder tonight. That's the end of our podcast. We'll see you next week.